Okay, is it actually working? Because I had everything up, everything was fine, and then all of a sudden we just dropped out completely, and it's a little bit upsetting. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Essentially, like the stream started and subsequently ended without me doing anything, which was great. It was great. Um, Particularly considering I'm still like trying to get my ducks in a row. Look. The fact that my ducks are not in a row is kind of entirely my own fault, but it's fine. Um, yeah, somehow I pressed, I guess, something, and my stream just went boom. Um, so right now, chat it does not exist essentially. It's just reactions only. It's live commentary, but nobody's added for live commentary, so it is what it is. Like things, I am in a heck of my own making. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Um, Theoretically, I should have done like everything that I needed to do earlier, but I didn't. And you know what? I'm not taking criticism at this time. Um, it is what it is. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and do what is it? What is it? I'm gonna show you my new stuff. Okay. I'm gonna show you my new stuff. I was not really like advertising any of my Halloweek stuff for this year because my Halloweek merch for this year is a little different from previous years. You can find that down below in the description. It will be in. Give me the description. It'll be under my website, sam-v.grad.co. It's literally in like right now my promoted links, which includes digital merch and Halloweek merch. I'll show you both. Like, it's no secret. It's no secret. It is what it is. Oh my gosh, you're not working and I hate you. I'm talking to OBS right now. Okay. So, and this is my website. We got the featured links. We're not going to go over rules because you guys can't violate my rules right now because even though this is live, it's on live commentary mode. So you guys can give me like little reactions, but that's about it. So if you go to my Ko-fi, right? Ko-fi is all digital merch. So Halloweek, we got the 2023 early access video with the bonuses. Really, you don't need to watch the early access video because it's the same as the public video, except it's got a little thank you message in it. It's if you want the bonuses, you can get that for free. We have the Halloweek 2023 Bloody Files wallpaper, the interview files, the Amy files, the Cats files, in its entirety, which is expensive, I know. If you want it, if you just like want a couple, let me know. We'll work something out. It's the same deal as always. Fortune teller's the same deal. And then we got the vampire and the final girl from Halloweek 2021 and 2020. It's been a lot. Okay, I don't have like any digital merch for this year because I could rehash what I have, but I really don't want to right now with my thumbnails. So I made a mistake. Okay, I made a mistake. Just a little tiny mistake, which is that I did this whole deal. I essentially made entire art pieces for every single little video. Which, guys, the video is literally me telling you a story. You're not looking at it. So why did I go hard for the thumbnails? I don't know. I didn't need to go hard, but I did. we're going to be talking about each of these individually, so it's fine. But hey, you can see all my other stuff too. We have the girl in the well, Haunting of Lockheed House, the Camp Greenwood thing, and A Witch's Lament. We also have the print that is on the storyteller's vest and the print that is on her dress. Because I'm weird and I decided, let me just do that individually and then make it like a texture. Why did I do that to myself? I shouldn't have done that to myself, but I did, and it was a mistake. Actually, it wasn't a mistake. It made things massively easier. So, like, for most of this, I will note for you that I am probably going to just be, like, reading a script off my phone because I don't want to miss something that I wanted to talk about. Because it's a lot. Okay, I work on my Halloweek event literally starting when the last one ends. And I actually started this one before the last one ended because I was having issues with the last one and I had issues with this one. But it's a different level. Like it's just different. So we're gonna start with the girl in the well. Which we're going to go over the stories, then we're going to go over the thumbnail for each story, and then we're going to go over the storyteller, the set, and like that kind of behind the scenes stuff. I will tell you, I'm going to avoid any spoilers at the end of A Witch's Lament. I gave you guys a little riddle, right? For the real OGs. You were tasked with finding the storyteller's name. If you did not find that name, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. But, sometimes I go a little far. And it's weird to expect you guys to go as far back as I am expecting you guys to go back for this. So I'm not going to hold you to it. We'll save all that for the storyteller section, okay? So don't worry about that. If you wanted to figure that out on your own, you have time to figure it out on your own. You can just stop when we get to the storyteller section and come back another time. It's okay. As it is, I'm pulling up the thumbnail because I want to have that up in the corner as I talk about every little story. But of course I didn't do this beforehand because I didn't. I'm tired. Okay, look, like, this is entirely just, I went to work today and we were doing Halloween stuff and it was a lot and I'm tired now. So, we're going to start with, let me see if I can get it up. Oh gosh. I'm very tired. Okay, I'm really tired. Okay, I got it. We're starting with the girl in the well. The girl in the well, if you didn't notice, is a little bit inspired by like The Ring. Even though I've never seen The Ring or like any variation of the franchise. I know, like, The Ring from Dead by Daylight, and that's about it. So, no story context for me in this head, but I was like, hey, the concept of, like, a well and a psychic, like, sounds really cool. Let's just make that a different story. I don't know if it worked out. But it's there. We even get a little bit of the VHS thing at the end of The Girl in the Well, which is a choice that I don't know if I love. But it's something that I did. Originally, I didn't, like, intend it to be an origin story. I wanted it to be, like, the main horror. But I just ended up making it an origin story because this is a personal thing. I don't like ghost stories where the ghost is just like a straight up evil person. And that might sound weird, but to me, I find ghost stories more interesting when we're looking at the ghost as a victim who is bound to the mortal plane. Like, to not be able to pass on speaks to something particularly painful that makes you, like, remain in a place that no longer hears or sees you. And a ghost, in like a ghost story, is trying to get that pain recognized. They're trying to reach out to mortal people who are still living and say, hey, hear me, recognize this, it hurts. And there's just that fundamental communication barrier. The living and the dead can't communicate, and it leads to that message getting muddled and potentially being perceived as like attacks against the living, which just conceptually is really cool for me, okay? Like, I like those kinds of ghost stories. Look, my very first horror like endeavor was a like very short-lived I think it was an anime when I was like 11, I think. And I just really enjoyed it because it focused on ghosts as what keeps this person here. Let's talk about like the pain that brought them to this point where they became a ghost. And I thought that was really cool. So I wanted to, make that kind of story. I'm not going to name drop it because honestly, I've tried to hunt down this anime so many times and I cannot find a single place where it is available to watch. And it is profoundly upsetting. There's a lot of animes that I really enjoyed when I was young and I can't find them. There's no way to watch them legally that I found, and I'm like, oh, I hate that. I don't like that. And it's just a whole thing. But we're gonna go aside. We're gonna go aside because at the end of the day, that whole like thought process of psychic ghost, that was mistreated, and the ghost is the victim. That's all just backstory. That was my brain saying, let's write this kind of story. That has nothing to do with the actual like meat of the story. Which, look, the girl in the well is probably the one story in this that I'm most proud of as like a creative writing piece. I think that I hit all the points that I wanted to hit without going too far, particularly for the platform. This is YouTube. We don't want things to be too graphic. And to be fair, the storytelling format kind of helps me to censor that so that it doesn't go too far. Like, bro, there's way more going on behind the scenes that's worse, but that's not what we're talking about. Because it's somebody disconnected from the story telling the story. One sec, I have to do something. Please, you're driving me nuts. Anyway. So that was fun. The idea of being like, okay, this is a storyteller telling the story. It's such a different format from how I usually write, which, to be fair, I write poetry more than anything else nowadays. I really don't write novels ever. I'm a short story person and a poetry person, and I haven't even been writing short stories recently. So this was like, we're revisiting my roots, and I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't at this point in time. I feel like I have more ideas that are good conceptually than ideas that are good in my head. I'm getting off topic. A large part of the themes that I wanted to like explore as a creative writing endeavor were like the systemic mistreatment of, like, women and children. I mean, with the mother of the family that she was adopted into, that woman took on the role of caretaker so heavily that she had to take care of a sick family member. So she kind of got taken away from her child, and her husband just kind of skated through and was like, oh, I'm not really cut out to be a parent. I'm not going to do the parenting thing. And the child died for that. Which, like, look, I get the whole idea of, like, oh, primary caretaker, but, like, being a parent's hard, okay? And I know that because I work with kids and stuff, like, so often I'll find my coworkers, and the way they talk about the moms versus the dads is just kind of interesting, because they're like, oh, mom picked up so-and-so today, versus, like, oh my gosh, dad picked up so-and-so today, and it was so cute. And it's like, that should be bare minimum. And I'm not saying that, like, dads don't deserve praise. I'm saying moms deserve just as much praise as dads get. Because being a parent's hard. I could not do it. That's why I work with kids. I get to clock out at the end of the day and go home. It's great. Being a parent is the hardest thing that somebody can do, I swear. And, like, I got my own stories about, like, the whole, like, mother has other obligations that can't, like, be with the kids, so they leave it to the father, and the father just is not super plugged in. I have a fun fact. I have a very severe phobia of the ocean. Like, I cannot be in ocean water without having, like, severe heart palpitations. I start freaking out a little bit because of this, and it was just legitimately, we went to the beach, for the holidays, and my mom was going to be late. Mom never ended up getting there. My dad left me in the ocean, and I got stung by a jellyfish, and it was really bad. Because when I say that, it sounds so minor. Oh, I got stung by a jellyfish. No, I got stung by a jellyfish. Like, 50% of my body was covered in it. And it was a little traumatizing. And then my dad, bless his heart, was just like, oh no, it's fine. It was not fine. I was in an immense amount of pain. And my mom blamed herself for, like, not being there. And it's like, but is that how it should go? Because she shouldn't have had to be there. My dad should have been able to watch a kid for a few hours. I mean, fully grown man. And he was a dad. And, you gotta take care of your kids first and foremost. My dad had, like, I love my dad, I do, but he was a fun person, not a responsible person when it came to being a dad, and that's fine. It's not fine when you're the person in charge of the child. Anyway, that's, like, beside the point. I have more stories like that with my dad, of just, like, my dad not being aware of the responsibility that came with watching a child. And then my mom overcompensates with, like, okay, well then I have to be in charge of the child all the time. And it's like, a fully grown adult should be able to learn how to take care of a child. And I say this, and it's not really a dig at my dad, because I see so many people that do not know how to deal with kids, and they're just like, oh no, just leave them on their own. I'm like, that is a 3-year-old. Don't do that. Which maybe I'm a little helicoptery. I don't know. But I'm just like, look, don't let the kid fall. Because that's another thing, is that children are, by definition, an oppressed class. I think it's really easy to look away from some of the things that kids experience and downplay it just because they're kids. Like, oh, they're just scared because they're a kid, or oh, they're more resilient because they're a kid. And most of the time it's fine, but when you downplay things that frighten children or upset them, it doesn't help to establish like any kind of trust. I'm going on a lecture right now. I apologize, but this is all like part of the point of this whole story of like the girl in the well. She is a character who never had her worries or fears paid attention to. And similarly, the other kids that she was in the orphanage with, they had the same deal. No adults they felt were trustworthy or cared for them. So when something bad happened, there was no one for them to tell that they could trust. And we always like to think that, oh, well, if it's something major, then the kid will tell somebody. But if they don't have somebody that they feel safe with, they're not going to tell somebody, which is so sad and tragic. And I know it can take a lot of energy and stuff to treat every concern that a child has as super important, particularly when it seems kind of silly to an adult brain. But the kid's never going to learn that I don't need to be afraid of that unless they have love and support and care during that. And then you break that trust, and then something worse happens and they don't tell anybody. Like, look, if a kid gets hurt or, they're doing something risky, they're more likely to tell you if they trust you. And when you take little things seriously, they trust you more. And look, I'm getting on a soapbox here, but like, that is kind of the core point of the girl in the well. Of the girl was a child who was not protected and deserved to be protected. And she had nobody. And that concept makes me very sad, because the fact is even when you strip away the ghost story, even when you strip away the drama of it, this is a thing that happens to a lot of kids, where they feel like they have nobody around them, and they deserve to have someone that they feel that they can trust and that they're safe with. And look, I try to be that for the kids that I'm around, but I'm not with kids on 24/7. I'm like, I show up for my 9 to 5, and that's it. Just be kind to the kids in your life. Establish love and trust with them, because that's important, and the kids deserve to be cared for. That's silly, but it's not silly, because it is what it is. All right, we're gonna start talking about the thumbnail now, because I could talk about that for a while, and it's not really productive in this case. So, fun fact, this was one that I didn't even sketch. I was just like, oh, I know what I want. I want like the girl looking up from the well. So I slapped like a 3D model, which by the way looks really small. We'll get to that. So that I could get like the basic idea of the perspective, because I'm still learning perspective. I'm not great at art. I just kind of try and then see how it goes. I spent a lot of time like trying to choose colors and stuff that gave her kind of a dead appearance and focused on the water. As you know, I didn't focus on the walls of the well, because I was like, I don't know how to do that, and I'm just going to accept that I don't know how to do that, and it's not going to be the main deal anyway, so just ignore it. It was what it was. I did debate a lot with the hair color. I was like, okay, well, I don't want it black, because then it's going to blend into the water. I considered making her blonde, but I knew that I wanted the demoness from the Lockheed house to be blonde, and I didn't want to make her look the same. So I ended up going with like this kind of brown hair. I didn't put as much detail into it as I usually do with hair. I just slapped some stuff on. you'll notice with the other ones too, I used a brush that is specifically for hair. We'll get to that when we get to that. This one I didn't. I did my hair the old-fashioned way, which is, to be honest, how I prefer to draw my hair, but usually I put more time into like creating the texture and stuff, and I didn't do it here because it just would take too long and it wouldn't have been good. Okay, it wouldn't have worked out. Another thing, literally, do you want to know what color the skin is? Do you want to know what color the skin is? Because I was a little like, oh, how do I draw the skin? I literally went straight up with like a greeny yellow and then just went more on the green, on like the gray side, because I'm like, I want you to look really, really dead. And that did the trick, didn't it? I think we succeeded in the like looks dead category, right? Right? There's not really much to tell with the thumbnail of this. It was really straightforward. I knew what I wanted to begin with, so I just kind of dove in and didn't think about it too hard. And then I was like, oh, I overcommitted. Because now I'm going to have to do this for all of them. But alas, I've done it. It's done. So this thumbnail is the one that I did first. I wish I could say that I did them in order, but I did not. Anyway, onto the Lockheed house. Because that's an event. That's an event. It's loading. It's loading. Here it is. There we go. So, once again, I was like, oh, the last one was an origin story. I should make this one an origin story of like a haunted house, but I don't want to do a ghost again because that's too predictable. So let's do like a demon, right? I was thinking like, for some reason I was channeling like the one time I saw half of Poltergeist, the second half, not even the first half, and The Exorcist, which I've never seen. But I was like, those concepts seem like they're right in my head. And then I ended up just not doing that. It's interesting how that brain time works. I also thought it would be interesting to have a demon be like the main cause here because, you know, spoiler, the storyteller is a demon. So I thought that would be like, oh cool, a demon's perspective on another demon. But because of that, I really didn't end up liking this, like on a personal level. It just creeps me out in all the wrong ways to hear my own voice justifying the things that the demoness and her son do. Like, it's all the whole survival of the fittest mentality, and it ends up feeling like really icky to hear myself talking like that, and I don't love it, and it's creepy in the bad way, not the good way. We want creepy in the scary way, not creepy in the this way. I do, however, I like that I spent the first half establishing, like, the demoness as being, like, older and wiser, and, like, she's slow, she's careful, she takes time with her prey and makes sure she doesn't get caught. Let's not risk the self for the temporary joy. Meanwhile, you know, the young, hungry, and reckless, like, spawn, that's cool. I also like that dynamic because it kind of establishes that the demoness really isn't all that different from, like, a human mother. She's like, no, I want to provide for my son. I want to give him everything that I want, everything that he wants. Like, just let me give my sweet, special boy everything. She's a boy mom in, like, the toxic way. And that's okay. for this. But, like, seriously, on, like, a very serious level. Did you know that parents are more likely to conceal the crimes of their children than that of their spouse? I thought that was fascinating. Anyway, I heard that somewhere else, and then I was like, oh, let's bring that idea in here. And when I was, like, showing my mom this, like, thing, she was like, oh, yeah, why does he have a face and nobody else does? I'm like, because they're demons and he's not. And she's like, so does he know that they're demons? I'm like, yeah, of course he does. And then she was like confused. So I'll explain it like this. The human husband knows that she's a demon, but he kind of has this whole mentality of, well, if I offer myself and I sacrifice my own happiness and safety, then she won't hurt other people. It's not about him like, oh, I love my wife and I'll do anything for her. It's genuinely a much more toxic dynamic of, I feel like I have to stay in this dynamic because if I don't, other people are going to get hurt and I don't want that on my head. Like, and that's just like an abuser mentality. I'm looking at my notes because what I wrote here was she's convinced him that if he plays all the right cards, other people won't get hurt, and the people that do were bad enough to deserve it, which is just that key abuser mentality. She's the abuser and he's the victim, like, because she's got all the power. She's a millions of years old demon who is doing terrible things, and he's just a human man. Also, like, just the motherly grief at the end. That's a whole thing. Once again, that barrier between demons in this universe and humans is very, very thin. Also, when we're saying demons, I hope you don't think I mean like religious demons. This is just like demons as in monsters, okay? Like, we're not talking spawned from hell deal, okay? However, with the human husband, I like to think that after the demoness turned into a house, that's a very weird phrase to say. I wrote it down and was like, oh, that's a weird phrase. And then I read it out loud and I'm like, that's an even weirder phrase. I like to think that after she turned into a house, the husband kind of like just ran off, left town, maybe like got some support from his friends and family, and then later just settled down with somebody who really loved him, and, you know, he did the healing that he needed to do, and he was able to just be loved by somebody who wasn't a demon. Or, you know, maybe he turned into a demon hunter with his new spouse, and he just could never bring himself to return to finally vanquish the ex-wife that became the Lockheed House. I don't know, okay? Look, I'm not in the business of the husband's story. The storyteller only cares about the mother and son, which is unfortunate. I think he could have a fun story himself, which, by the way, don't look at his face too hard, because I don't really draw men's faces ever. I have not a lot of experience in that. Most of the time when I'm drawing off of like a full face reference, it's my own face. Otherwise, I'm literally just like, hey, let's take that celebrity's nose, those lips off of that random person from Pinterest, these eyes, and I'm just like picking and choosing. So don't look at his face. It's legitimately just, I'm not good at it. So we're just gonna move on, all right? This is, however, where I finally like broke down and was like, okay, I just need a brush to do the hair because this is a pain. Because I'm going to be honest, I was so done with this because it's got so many moving parts that I was just like, I'm done. I can't do it. Like, look at his feet. I did the man first, and look at his feet. I was just like done. I was done. At least hers isn't awful, and the son's are actually pretty halfway decent. But I was just, I don't want to look at him anymore. I don't want to look. So this was the second one that I started. It ended up being the third that I finished, and I only finished it third because I knew I had to do the A Witch's Lament thumbnail last, because that was the one that was just, it was clicking in my head, and this one was not clicking in my head, okay? I had all the references, and it just did not work out. Like, look at this. Look, I've got folders upon folders upon folders, okay? So, we got the house. See? House. Actually, we got 2 copies of the house. We have the blurred house because I hated it so much, and the unblurred house, which doesn't look that different because I really was done with the house. We got the background with the grass, and then we got the sky. We have the man, who I ended up drawing first, partially because I was like, I don't draw men. He's the only one with a face. It's going to be hard. So I'm just going to take that first, okay? I actually started with this, okay? With this and this. I knew that I wanted it to be like very conservative, traditional, almost like 1950s-esque. So I started mostly with the poses. I was like, oh, I kind of want the man to be like looking directly at his wife. And he's going to be very tall and skinny. I want her to be more like rounded and like gentle looking. And the son's going to also look very like round. And that was that. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do some flowers. Originally, I was going to have her have like a high neck butter yellow dress with like a white Peter Pan collar and then a white cardigan. That did not end up happening because I was just like, it's too much. The son, I ended up changing his from like a red striped polo shirt and khakis to what he had, and we'll go over that later because that's a separate thing. The husband is really the only one that kept the initial like, oh, I'm going to do a white button-up shirt, some khakis, and then black shoes. He's the only one that kept that. Also, I need to mention, because I was in the middle of drawing, I think his sleeve, and I was like, what is that? What is that? I have a random 3D model way in the back here. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where it's going. But it's there. And now he's my little friend, and he must remain forever. For the actual house, I like pulled up like 50s houses, and I would love to say that, oh, this looks exactly like it. No, I'm not kidding. Also, we'll get to this whole, I pretty much was just like, oh yeah, it's going to be 2 stories. It's going to have kind of like the entryway popped out, and then like a large window in the front. Everything else is different. And fun fact about the door, originally the door was here, okay? That's where I wanted the door. Here's the problem with the door. I did not put that much effort into the door for it to be covered by her butt. So there's a hole in the wall. Nobody cares, okay? Nobody cares. But it's there, and now you know it's there. So yeah, pretty much the facade is similar, but like I changed the color of the house, I changed the roof color, I literally deleted multiple rooms. It's fine. So we're actually going to start with the woman because I did the most with her. I actually ended up making this design in a separate like file, which, oh my gosh, can you pull it up? Oh, lovely. Wow, okay. Lib Studio, you hate me. So basically, I'm gonna have to do some stuff, all right? Because I want you guys to see what it is that I'm looking at first. There we go. Okay, can we make you smaller? Thank you. All right. Mother of heck. Okay. This is the actual, like, flower. And then I just offset each one and manually put in a massive texture thing that would cover her body. So as you can see, it's very detailed. You know, we got the little, like, gem in the middle. We got little folds in the fabric because these are supposed to be like fabric flowers. And then I was literally able to just like do the shading and then slap this on and then just like use the liquify tool to move stuff around so it looked more natural. I knew that I wanted her to use like bright cheery colors like the yellow and the blue because those are very friendly colors in my head. They're friendly colors because I wanted it like this to look so friendly, and then you see her face blocked out, which, fun fact too, like I said, she doesn't have a face. She doesn't. I was like, I'm not gonna draw her face. I'm gonna blot it out anyway. But look how much I put into her hair. Like I said, this is why I got just a brush for the hair, because I was like, I'm not. This is a lot. So yeah, the flower on her dress is super detailed. You can buy it. It's actually like quite pretty when it's in like a proper pattern and not just the mess up stuff. This is really a sloppy pattern because I didn't make sure that all the measurements are the same. It's not equidistant because I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to change it anyway. At the end of the day, it's a thumbnail. Nobody's going to look at it. Look, it looks pretty. We got the vibes. It's fine. For the sun, fun fact, literally, I literally selected her hand and then just erased what was in the selection so that she was like holding his shoulder, which his fingers on this hand are a little messed up, but I don't even care. Okay, I don't care. Like I said, initially he was supposed to be wearing like a polo that was like red with red and white stripes, and I was like, that's gonna be a lot of work. I'm not doing that. So he's got a red t-shirt now. And then I was like, oh, and let me give him the blue shorts, because then we got his blue with mom's blue and then his red with dad's red tie. Like, that makes sense to me. The sun also ended up being the last one that I drew because just, I don't draw children. I don't draw men. It's interesting. And I don't love the knees. Like, that is killing me. I understand it's because, like, the foot is angled out, but I don't like it. It gives me ick. Yeah, the father is literally the only one that got the exact same outfit that I always expected him to be in. And, by the way, I did, in fact, draw details to the tie that I did not have to draw. He might not have an arm, but he's got the tie, and that's all that matters. His feet are also jank, but nobody cares. And look, like, the only reason, I forgot to mention this, the story of why I moved the door is I was ranting to my mom when I showed her this. I'm like, oh my gosh, and look, I did all this work to draw this perfect door, but it's gonna be behind her. And my mom's just like, move it. And I'm, oh my gosh, I can move it. That's how burnt out I was at this point. I worked like multiple days after work until after midnight to get this done, and I still don't love it because his feet are going to kill me. They're just black blobs. Nobody cares. But it's gonna kill me. Save my ass from myself because, oh, I'm fine. Everything's fine. We're gonna move on. I've been talking about this for 44 minutes. 45 minutes almost. We're moving on to Camp Greenwood, okay? We got some, like, foresty stuff, but we're gonna remove the forest. Because the forest is... Actually, no, we're gonna keep the forest for now. We're just gonna minimize this, okay? Camp Greenwood. Okay, let me preface by saying that this is the one I got stuck on for actual months, and then I like started working and I forgot that my Halloween event existed until like very suddenly 2 weeks into October. I was like, oh, I was it was fine. It was fine. It was fine. I got something done. Originally, this was supposed to be like a whodunit slasher deal, and it didn't end up being that because, like I said, I spaced on it existing. I'm sorry. That's why we only have 4 episodes. I literally spaced and forgot this entire thing existed. But, like, I sat down and, like, I was like, oh, we're gonna have these characters and these things are gonna happen, and then I just forgot to write it down. I think, by far, this is the one story that would make the best, like, movie. I don't think it works awesome in, like, a storytelling format. It's not the ideal format for this, okay? It's just not. And I realized that as I was getting to, like, the end of it. I'm like, this is not the right format for this. But it's okay. It's okay. It's done. It's done. It's done. I got the check mark. I wanted a camp slasher, so it's here. So I'm not a camp. I like, the whole thing is, I had the characters in my mind. I knew their archetypes that I was going to use. And then I was like, but how do I get from, like, that to people dying? And look, I prefer, like, wilderness monsters, or just in general more urban settings. I'm not a camp person. I've never been to a summer camp, okay? I went camping with my dad, and I hated it, and I complained the entire time because my dad forgot to bring food. That sounds like a joke, but it's not. One time my dad literally just spaced and was like, oh, I forgot to bring food. Let me call up my ex-wife. And he yelled at me for eating a bag of Cheetos that he bought me while we were waiting for my mom to come bring food. And I was like, I haven't eaten since 9 a.m. It's 4. I'm hungry. It's fine. It's fine, okay? So if you notice, all of the characters are named alphabetically. We literally have Adam, Becky, Chad, Deborah, Elizabeth, Greg, and Helen. Or Frank, Greg, and Helen. I forget Frank. Everybody forgets Frank. It's fine. Because theoretically they all would have been minors when this happened, so it's like a kind of, like, built-in censorship, is that, like, in the reality of this universe, nobody knows the kids' real names anyway, so the storyteller's just going along with it. Which, doesn't that make the dig about Chad's worse? Like, the storyteller's just like, yeah, I know these names are fake. Did they really have to name this guy Chad? Yeah, but no, like, on a truly bizarro English grad level, because I do have an English degree, guys. I do. It's ridiculous. I shouldn't have it, but I do. On, like, a completely ridiculous, like, I'm reading way too far into this, I would love to read into this as allegorical, where Greg is symbolic of Helen's innocence and the children escaping punishment is, like, culture, and it's supposed to be a camp slasher. I'm not supposed to read this far into it. There's no room for that. So I scrapped it. Alright. Look, there was an allegorical level. We're not talking about it. Okay? There's no point. Seriously though. The victim blaming is so real. Like, did you guys read about that teacher that, like, had something stolen, and people online are like, oh, maybe you can't blame kids for that, like, you were tempting them. They're high schoolers. They definitely have enough self-control to not steal. Which, fun fact, I started writing a script for this, and I was like, oh yeah, wasn't that a thing that happened? I went off on a tangent about it for, like, 4 paragraphs, and then I was like, let me double check. And yeah, they're high school kids, and everybody, like, people online are like, but they're kids. Yeah, they're 14 and 15-year-olds. They know better. This isn't like an 8-year-old who's like, but he's pretty. I work with kids. I love kids. They're great. They're great little people. But the fact is, They're people, same as anybody else. When you sweep away, like, oh, let's just sweep it under the rug, it's just kids being kids, they don't know any better, you lose the teaching moment. Like, yes, sometimes the kid genuinely doesn't know any better, and then it's a teaching moment. But, like, if I'm just existing as an adult, walking around, and my mind goes to, like, kids on the internet. Look, there's a reason I don't use TikTok anymore. I remember I got a notification for a follower on TikTok, and it was like a 5-year-old girl dancing in her room, half naked, and I was so horrified because it's just, where are your parents, man? I was so scared. I was so scared for her, and I'm like, I gotta just report and block. There's nothing else I can do because that's just what it is. There's a level of, okay, the kid doesn't know, let's teach and move on. And then there's another level, which is you have to hold children accountable for their actions. So, like, these kids, yes, they made a mistake. They lit firecrackers around gasoline and killed a kid. That's kind of a big deal. And to say, like, because I do believe that if you had a good enough lawyer, they would make the argument that, yes, well, these kids were supposed to be supervised by these two, but, you know, they were too busy hooking up. And it's like, well, you know, your kid should still know better than to play with firecrackers. It just is what it is. Like, I picture the Captain 6 kids, like, before the flash forward, before Helen's injury happens, as being, like, 10, 12. I've spent enough time around 10, 12-year-olds to know that this is absolutely something that they would do. And then, by, like, the flash forward, they'd probably be, like, maybe 14, not, like, mature enough to recognize, like, oh, we did a terrible thing that one time on accident, and we should probably feel bad about it. Like, they just moved on because they had parents that were like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, just move on. It was a big deal. Somebody died. Meanwhile, I kind of imagine, like, Helen and Greg being, like, maybe 16 at the time where they're counselors. Maybe just they're trying to get those volunteer hours for, like, scholarships and stuff, because that's a thing that a lot of kids really start worrying about when they turn, like, 16, 17 in America. In America. It's, at least that's what, like, happened with me. I remember, like, all of us got into, I think it was, like, junior year, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, I have to get those volunteer hours so that we can get that scholarship. One of my friends got that scholarship. It paid for, like, a book. I was like, great. That's wonderful. So, like, the Captain 6 kids are, like, they're old enough to know better, but they're also young enough that we still have adults saying, oh, they're just kids. Like, I don't know. I remember so many atrocities that I witnessed growing up and just being around other children. It's like, you know what? The best thing was the kids that vandalized the bathroom with washable marker. I was like, you didn't even commit. But hey, it was easy for them to clean it up when they finally got to their punishment. That's a whole thing. But regardless, I'm a little obsessed with Helen's perspective on this, though. Because, like, if we take that, she's, like, maybe 16. She has never had a boyfriend, and, like, there's this guy that I guess likes her, and it's like, oh my gosh, for a brief moment, everything is starry-eyed and beautiful. And then it all just comes crashing down, and not just she loses the guy that just told her that, oh, I like you, but permanent disability, which disability in general is something that is really difficult for people to work through. it can get incredibly dark, particularly if you don't have a strong support system or you don't have the financial ability to care for your disability. It's a lot. And it becomes even harder when you become disabled due to the actions of another and then they walk away with no consequences. Like, that makes me angry to think about it as somebody who is like, yeah, I could get in a car accident tomorrow and become permanently disabled for the rest of my life, deal with immense amounts of pain, maybe be paralyzed, and I might get some money. That makes me angry. It does. It makes me angry because that is a person's life. And shouldn't our lives be worth a little bit more than that? So, like I said, just I imagine that's what kind of drove her to like this rage of she sees those people that facilitated that terrible thing happening to her, that did the terrible thing, and it's just like, you know what? I was already gonna hurt myself because I'm in a dark place. Now I'm gonna hurt you too. The Camp Green Massacre is like a lot. Okay, it's a lot. Doesn't really matter. So the Camp Greenwood Massacre is the second one that I finished. Second thumbnail that I finished. Because theoretically this is actually like very easy. I was like, oh, I want the sign, and then like maybe some blood and like burning in the background. So like you kind of saw when I took the trees away, I just needed some firelight because I knew that most of this would end up being cut off when I put it into like the thumbnail proportions. So I've got like 3 layers of forest, and it's just like different shades of oranges, reds, and yellow on different like layers. I think I have like, yeah, I've got a couple like normal layers and then a couple, I've got a multiply layer in there. Oh, wow. What does that look like without the multiplier layer? Oh, that's what adds all the color. What about the normal layer? Ah, that's just like the embers. I want it to do like a couple embers floating up. And that's what I got. So really that's the background of, we have all this fire, we have the smoke, and then we just have the night sky with all those pretty little stars. And because it's all layered up, it ends up looking kind of nice. And then we got the signpost, which really, fun fact, these stripes that are on the signpost that I did for the texture on the wood, I just copied them and then pasted them and then moved it around so that it looked like it covered it, but it looked faintly different for the actual posts. And okay, seriously though, the writing Camp Greenwood was a pain. I ended up doing, like you can see, 3 different layers, all using different sized brush, like different brush sizes in order to get like it to be kind of clear. Which, fun fact, my mother still misread this as lamp Greenwood. Lamp. It's lamp. And then the handprint, okay, I'll be real, I didn't draw this. I did not, because that would have been a lot. I'm going to show you exactly where I got it. And I'm going to show you the brush that I used for the hair too while I'm at it, because I can do that and it'll be fun. Okay. So yes, this is a material from Clip Studio Paint. You can look up the content ID or whatever. I don't know how you do this because I'm still new to this. So I just used like this handprint brush, and then I like added some multiplication and stuff to make it like kind of some more variation. It's very good for horror. And for the hair, it's literally this quote unquote curly hair pen, which I don't know. It's a good way to make it quick. it's a really good way to make it quick. It's just not my favorite way to draw like hair in my specific style. So those are the two things that like I grabbed from like materials from other people that I wanted to give credit for, because this handprint is really cool. Okay, it's really, really cool. So we got all this like multiply layer to like darken it. I kinda, in retrospect, wish that I had kept the brighter red, because I think when you zoom out, it makes it pop more. But I kind of wanted it to look like dried blood, so I went the darker blood. But I kind of prefer that one, which is unfortunate. But, you know, we all make choices, and this is the choice I made, so I need to live with it. Yeah. So that's the hand if you're just a handprint, and then I smudged it out and then ended up recoloring it with a multiply layer, and I still don't know how I feel about that, but it's okay. It's okay. We're almost done. Fun fact, we're almost done. It's been an hour and we're almost done. Did I forget anything else? No. That's everything I got for this one, which means I can grab the one thumbnail that I love the most. It's my favorite child, okay? It's my favorite child. And by the way, at this point, we're gonna start having some more spoilers. So, a fun fact. I knew what this was gonna be. I knew what this was gonna be before I even started anything else. And the reason for that is very simple. This is Lucrezia. And if you guys don't remember Lucrezia, which I don't think you would, it was a while ago. By the way, this is your clue, guys. This is a clue. If you don't know who the storyteller is, you need to go ask my girl Lucrezia, because she does know. Lucrezia is from Halloweek 2022, the Daiquiri Carnival. The best part is I had this whole story for her in my head back in 2022, and I was like, ooh, get a chance to tell it. That's awesome. I love that. Like, I went in to this knowing, okay, I want to hit these plot points. These are important to the story. Like, it's all there. Now, back in 2022, I kind of cringe at it, because I wish that I had just bucked up and asked, like, one of my friends, hey, can you, like, provide the voice for Lucrezia's visitor? And I feel like I'd be happier with it. But I need to remind myself that at the time, I had one friend who was in the middle of school, and I love her, but she has a master's degree. That's hard. I did not want to bug her when she was in the middle of school, and particularly midterms. Oof. Because always this falls around midterms. I love that. And then my other friend would commit, but then never show up. So we're no longer friends, but that's not because she flakes. That's because she said something very, very cruel to me. But we're not talking about that. We don't need that rage in my heart anymore. I need to stop that. My mom wasn't really an option either, because she has a much more mature sound than what I wanted for the visitor. I wanted the visitor to be kind of like a young person who's like, ooh, fortune teller. But I digress. In the end, like, if you go back and rewatch the Daiquiri Carnival from 2022, I just want you to be aware that, like, I regret that. I wish that I had given the visitor to the Lucrezia's tent a voice. I feel like I would have loved it a lot more if I had done that, but I didn't, and I need to live with that. Regardless, even back then, I knew, because I was thinking about her motivations. I'm like, oh, she's going to steal the visitor's soul at the end. Spoiler for that, but it came out in 2022. You're 3 years late. I knew that I was like, oh, so I want her to be like kind of a good person, but not a good person, if that makes sense. So I was like, oh, so she like protected her village and maybe she was betrayed and burned at the stake, right? And then because of her ability of being able to read people's futures and then just like steal their souls, she just took their souls and continued living because they betrayed her. Like, I knew that that's what I wanted. And then I just kind of fleshed it out a little further in A Witch's Lament, including her magic burning away her life, the flash flood, which caused the villagers to turn on her and burn her. Also, I just kind of thought it was kind of cool to have Lucy name drop the storyteller multiple times in her readings. She name drops the storyteller specifically in Ace of Wands, Justice, and the Tower. Hint, 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 hint. And then for the storyteller to tell Lucy's story as their last tale in the House of Tears. So fun fact, even though this looks like boom, I love this very much. I knew that it was going to be the easiest and quickest for me to draw. Very simply, I knew it was going to be the easiest and quickest. Because of that, I saved it for last. I ended up staying up until like 4 a.m. drawing it, but because I was like really attached to the concept, I didn't struggle or like pause to be like, oh, what should I do? I knew colors. I knew what colors I was going to use. I knew the general shapes that I was going to go for. I knew the features that I needed to go for. That was all in my head. I do have sketches, and I did kind of change a little bit from the sketches because I was like, oh, let me do this outfit that Lucrezia wore instead. So initially, oh my goodness. This was what I had, okay? I literally had a 3D model to help me with the perspective and stuff. And then I was like, oh, she'll have like a blue top, kind of like, I don't know, it'll be lower here so we can like see the lower shoulder, and then higher here. And then we'll have the like rope twisted around her and the hair and like the blood and the little eyes. And I did end up forgetting the tears, but that's okay. And I just kind of knew immediately that's what I want to do. That's what I want it to look like. And I was happy with it. So, like I said, I didn't stop to be like, oh, I need to rethink this. I need to rethink that. I need to rethink this. I do, in retrospect, kind of wish that I'd added little shinies just for like the tears going down her face. Which, speaking of, look at that eye. We're going to stay zoomed in here for a second. The worst part of this was like figuring out how the shadows would work on the face, because I've never really drawn like this dramatic, like I wanted the like light to be coming up from the bottom of the face and creating shadows on the face that way. And I've never done that before. So I straight up, I'm not kidding. I was like, hey, Mom, take a picture of me like this. And she's like, okay. I love my mom so much. And I ended up using that for a reference of how I would want things shaded. I'm still not 120% on like the perspectives of the face. Like, I know that the lips would look that small in comparison to the eyes, but it kind of like, in my head, I'm like, should they be bigger? Particularly when I'm looking at it close up. But I'm like, no, it's supposed to look like that because her face is down like this. So obviously, but yeah. Also, I need to mention, my mom thinks I'm a little insane. Because I did this on this, and I did this with my model of so I told her this. I'm like, oh yeah, so this program has like a really cool feature. You want to see it? And she's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, what? Oh, wait, no. Whoop. That's a change. She's like, oh, cool. So that makes your drawing easier, right? I'm like, no, because I don't like how that looks. So, I did this for the rope too, which I could have just gotten a rope like material, but I didn't like any because I don't like using line art in my drawing, which is entirely because I don't know how to do it well yet, and I just haven't practiced it, so I just don't use line art at all and do everything without line art. So, whenever I draw like rope or the chain links in the case of my model, I literally just take a brush, draw a line, shade it as necessary, and then where the dark bits are, I go in with an eraser and just... With the chain, I do it a little differently. I make the internal like holes in the links, then like carve out each individual link, and then I highlight it using an add layer to make it like have that kind of effect, and it really brings it to life. And I like how it looks, but my mom thinks I'm nuts for it because she's like, why are you making things harder on yourself? I'm like, because I don't know how to make brushes yet, and I like it to look this way, and I'm proud of it. I do like it, but yeah, I drew each individual rope by hand because I guess I do hate myself sometimes, despite how much I say, oh, I play games on easy mode because I don't hate myself. Apparently I do a little bit. And yeah, I zoomed in on this earlier, but the eyelashes, oh my gosh, look at that. I was like, oh, because they're like being lit from below, so it's got like... Also, the eyes don't have eye shinies because remember, in the if you watch A Witch's Lament, and you should watch A Witch's Lament, her eyes cloud over. So she literally, her eyes aren't shiny because there's no shine to her eyes. They're clouded over. The only reflection in her eyes is the firelight. Also, I was almost done with this. I was like, oh, I'm going to export it. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I forgot like the dirt on her face and the chafing from the rope. I have to add that really quick. And then I still forgot the tears that were in my original sketch. Explain that to me. Explain that to me. I love that. Anyway. That's all I have to say about A Witch's Lament, which means we're going to be talking about the storyteller next. And that means if you do not want to hear about the storyteller, if you want to figure it out yourself, we'll go stop here. We'll go watch Halloweek 2022. Otherwise, we're getting into spoiler territory. All right. So, this is the owner of the carnival, Millicent Dacre, also known as Mills. Mills is a demon who feeds on misery and is smart enough to subcontract the misery part. Like, legitimately. They're just like, oh, well, there's all these other, like, monsters and stuff that make people miserable. I'll just gather a ton of them. Like, it'll be fine. And then I'll just feed on the misery that, like, is left behind. It's good. They're very smart like that. The original plan was back in 2022. I was going to cosplay them. I was going to have them wear all black, including flowy pants, boots, a vest, and a top hat with bejeweled ribbon due to personal insecurities. I did not end up doing that. Blue hair was a constant, though. I was always going to have them have blue hair because of the connection with the misery. Anyway, at the end of the day, I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm not the same body type as Mills Dacre. I'm not. I wanted to draw a different body type with them. Well, I wanted them to have a different body type. So I was like, oh, well, I'll draw them, and then I can do, like, a live 2D model, right? Which I'm still not wholly certain that I did justice to the body type I wanted for Millicent, but it is what it is at this point. brain, come back to me. And like I said, I wanted to do a live 2D rig. And then I forgot until October. So that didn't happen, and I opted to use a PNG tuber. Still not super in love with how it looks, because I forgot about how things look in horizontal stuff, and I just didn't do it well. But, you know, that's what happens when you don't manage your time. This happens. Where I'm just like, you know what, it's going to be better if you just listen to it. Which, hey, end of the day, it's going to be better if you listen to it no matter what, because it's a story. Listen to the story, man. Now, for the symbolism, we're gonna zoom super far in. So this pattern on the vest, which I forgot to split here, and it ended up just being. We're gonna ignore that because I just noticed it. So it starts with like a flower, and then it's got like the shapes around it. The flower that is in the center of the design is intended to be. Bear with me here because I'm going to struggle. A rhododendron, which is known to be like incredibly toxic, so it's often used to indicate like danger and stuff in symbolism. I'm literally telling you that Millicent is dangerous with their vest, which I thought was kind of cool. I based the pattern on like traditional damask patterns, but obviously it's not the same vibes because damask patterns are made from the weave of the fabric. And this is literally just a print. But, you know, it's fine. Like I said, blue is the connection to sadness. I also chose kind of a more purpley tone for the lip because I wanted to keep everything very cold and cool toned. And yeah. Oh, and fun fact. The staff, if you zoom super far in. Let me actually. Staff. Okay, yeah, we don't need that. We're just focusing on this part. It's literally an eyeball. Fun fact, it's an eyeball. It is an eyeball. It's an eyeball. It's an eyeball. Yeah, no, I was literally like, wouldn't it be cool if I just, like, I really like how her eyes turned out, so I'm just gonna, like, use her eyeball as the base of the staff. And it literally, it's straight up her third eye, we'll call it. Because it's literally just her iris copied and pasted and then dragged down there. Because I'm unique. Also, we'll say the hat shadow is magic because it's dramatic effect. Do you need to question further? Now I'm going to show you how I did the set. I can't show you everything that I did with the set because I did it in a different scene collection in OBS. I really was like, oh, I'm going to make this super easy on myself, and it took a lot to set up. But once it was set up, everything was incredibly easy, like scary easy. So let me open the set file real quick so I can show you. I designed the entire set around Mills. So Mills was built first, and then I designed the set. So literally the first thing I did was copy and paste it specific colors from Mills Stackery. Actually, I think this is literally just straight up their palette. Anyway, beside the point. Then I started with creating the floor and the curtain. These are literally just bases. And then I used liquify tools and perspective tools to make them into curtain open, curtain close, which I then plugged into a scene in OBS where a certain hotkey would trigger them to do the transition to slide in or slide out, depending on what they were currently in. So because of that, that's how I made that like open and closing thing. That was not done at all in editing. It was done entirely in OBS. We did the same with the floor. So I took that like a floor, I drew the lights on, and then I did like a lights on and then lights off mode, I think. Yeah, lights on and lights off. So then I could literally just plug it in, and once again, I put them in a different set and then made them fade between each other, plugged it in to another scene, so many nested scenes, where I had everything in. Oh, we also have the curtain with the lights on, lights off. So basically all I had to do was press one button and the curtains like parted, another button, all the lights came on. I also used a mask and then a OBS plugin to like do a hotkey for that filter so that I could like literally just have the lights come on and the model lights up and the entire stage lights up. And then I could do my spiel, talk, whatever. Lights go down, curtains close, all internal in OBS, nothing external. And then for the PNG program, I'm going to minimize my thing because I need to go find. So I use for my PNGs, PNG Tuber Remix, and I just had it set for like the different state, like, oh my gosh, what are they called? I'm sorry, I just hit the table, but I'm pulling it up because I don't remember what it's called. I think it's states. Yeah, so like the hotkey with the states was the same hotkey to switch to our jump scare mode. Yeah, it's states. So then I could get that jump scare nice and easy by just literally hitting a button. So literally I wouldn't have to do much editing except for fixing my own mess ups where I flubbed a line and had to restart it. That's all I had to do. Everything else was just nice and smooth, which is great. It's great. I love it. I love it. I also did all the audio filters in OBS. If you'll notice, my voice sounds a little bit robotic in the stories. That's because I wanted it to sound robotic. I was also using equalizers and stuff to push the higher side of my voice up really high, so you could hear more of the like high notes to my voice and less of the low notes, which if you look at my voice in like an equalizer, I'm mostly on the low side. Like I've got a very I don't have like a low voice, but most of the tones in my voice are definitely on the low side rather than the high side. And I want it to boost those high and bring down the lows so that it sounded different from me. So yeah, essentially because I did all of the like special stuff in OBS, it made the edit painstaking but easy. Like I literally just had to listen through, oh, I messed up here, let's cut here. This is where I restart the line. All right, cut here, delete that. Is it flowing good? Okay, move on. Da, 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 da. And then I had to wait for the video to render, which is fine. Oh, but did I forget to mention, I recorded everything in the wrong format. DaVinci Resolve couldn't open it. So I had to go into a different program and then export it again in a different format. And it was great and I hated it. And yay! Yeah, no. Okay, so I started recording at like 10 p.m. on Saturday. Okay, for context, when I say Saturday, I mean it's November. Congratulations. The 25th, like at 10 p.m. I finished recording at 6 a.m. on the 26th. I then went to sleep, woke up at 1 p.m., walked directly over to my computer, powered it on, and started editing. I did not eat breakfast. I did not wash my face. Nothing. I still, despite all that, only finished editing them and uploading them to YouTube a few minutes before dinner, at which point I then started working on the A Witch's Lament thumbnail, which, like I said, I worked on until 4 a.m. on a work night. That is why I'm doing this live. I ideally would not be doing this live, but I just had a lot of other stuff to do this week. I couldn't really sit down and just record a video because I'm bouncing all over the walls. I fell asleep on my couch on Wednesday, which I don't do because it's painful and it hurts. But I fell asleep on my couch because I was so tired. And I woke up because I heard water. And I was like, what's going on? And I look over and my cat has her face in my cup of water and is drinking my water. And I was so tired that I was just like, damn cat, and went back to sleep. My mom thinks that story's funny. I was just like, tired. And then, because I'm absolutely wild, okay, wild. Was it Monday? Yeah, it was Monday. No, Monday. Tuesday. Got the news that one of my friend's kids broke her leg. This kid's like so little. My heart broke for her right before Halloween. So I was like, oh, I'll make little goodie bags for the kids. The newborn won't know. It'll just be the older two that can actually remember this. And I spent a fairly unhealthy amount of money on getting them little goodie bags. Saying they're goodie bags is kind of downplaying it. I told my friend that. I'm like, really, she's my brother's friend, but at this point, my brother doesn't talk to her and I do, so I think she's more my friend at this point. Anyway. Yeah, so I got, like, gift bags, and I just filled it with, like, candy and toys and, like, gimmicky stuff, and then I got markers for, like, cute, like, glitter and metallic markers for the kid with a broken leg, in case, like, she got a cast. She didn't end up getting a cast, but for her cast, so she could have, like, people decorate it and sign it, and I thought that would be cute. She was really excited about it. And then I didn't want the other one to feel left out, so I was like, oh, she's a fan of K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm gonna get her a K-pop Demon Hunter shirt. She screamed. It was really sweet. Like, that was Wednesday, and I put all that together Wednesday. Went to drop it off on Thursday. Then I was like, oh, they don't have Halloween costumes. They don't have Halloween costumes on Thursday. Because, like, things are rough and life sucks, and who has $70 to shell out for a Halloween costume? Genuinely. For a child. That's wild to me. $70 Halloween costumes, and they are so poorly constructed. Anyway. So I was like, oh, well, I have to go shopping anyway to grab this thing. And my mom's like, oh, and I need milk. And then we walk into the store, and I'm like, oh. She said she wanted to dress up as this, and there's that costume right there. How much is it? What size is she? So they have really cute Halloween costumes. I'm so happy they had a good Halloween. They texted me to be like, oh, yeah, we had a great Halloween. I'm like, good. Kids deserve a good Halloween. Halloween's fun. I remember when I was like, not 11. Yeah, I was probably 11 or so. I went trick-or-treating with my mom, and, like, we couldn't afford, like, a nice costume, so I just dressed up as, like, a cat in, like, a cheap, like, $15 thing. And even that was, like, a big splurge for my mom. And I was just like, I want the kids to have a good Halloween. Because kids deserve to have, like, a fun time. Anyway, that's beside the point. I'm really happy they had a good Halloween. I'm rambling because I'm happy about that. And then, yeah, work, they're all celebrating Halloween, and one of my coworkers, she's like newly 21, and she's like, I'm gonna go party. And I'm like, my plan is to go home, sit down in front of my computer, and essentially talk to myself. Like, look, let's face it, anybody that does anything on the internet, end of the day, they're literally just sitting down and talking to themselves. Which you just turn on the camera so it feels less like you're losing your mind. Which, hey, fair. For me, it helps me practice my talking skills because I'm not good at that. I have weak vocal cords anyway, so I need to make sure that I talk regularly, or I will literally have like a day where I'm like, oh, I want to talk to these people because I'm having so much fun talking to them, and like I want to talk to them, and I'll like have my voice crack, and then I'll just lose my voice for 3 weeks, and that's not okay. I love Halloweek. I do. I love it. It's great. But I'm starting to think that Halloweek doesn't love me. If you didn't know, Monday was the 2-year anniversary of my dad passing away, which, great. Yeah. That happened when I was doing the Cats files, and I got the news that he was hospitalized right as I was finishing editing. And then the last video in the Cats files went up on the same day that I got the news that he'd passed. And then this year, that poor kid, she broke her leg, and I'm so sad. And then this week, we had like a whole like spirit week at work, and my coworkers bullied me into dressing up every single day, and I was trying to like avoid it. I say that as if I'm not wearing like a Halloween shirt right now, but these are ghost cats, so it's different. It's cute. I didn't want to be a cowboy today. I was a cowboy today, but I didn't want to be a cowboy today. I'm kidding. It's fun, but like, y'all have seen how I cosplay. It's not child appropriate. I'm like, let me slap some blood and gore on me. You can't do that around kids. That's a bad influence. I'm not a bad influence. Well, I kind of am a bad influence, but at least I have the like sense to say, hey, if you're a child, you probably shouldn't be watching my videos. That is not a smart decision for you or I. Yeah, that's a whole thing. Like, I overloaded myself. I forgot about this until like 2 weeks into October. Somehow. Because I just got so busy with everything else in my life. I have a ton of paperwork that I'm supposed to be doing that I've been procrastinating on for months. And I do this to myself. I have no one else to blame. Even with Halloweek, I wanted it to be, I was like, oh, I'm going to make it 5 episodes the first year. And then I'm like, well, first it was 5 episodes, but one was technically unrelated. And then it was 5 episodes that were all related. And then it was, I think, 6. And then we tapped out at 6. And then it went back to 5 with the behind the scenes coming later. And now we're all the way down to 4 with a behind the scenes on live. Yeah, Halloweek kind of hates me, I think. I think next year I might try to reformat instead of like 1 video every day of the final week, because also that's kind of not great for my analytics. I might end up just trying to do like 1 video every week of October, which honestly is probably just better for everybody. But I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if I'm gonna still be doing stuff on the internet in October of next year. Like, things are changing all the time, and sometimes you just can't make the commitments. But I want to keep doing Halloweek. I want to keep doing Halloweek as long as I physically can. And that's what I say every year, is that this might be the last Halloweek. But by golly, I managed a full Halloweek while mourning. I managed Halloweek when I'm so severely depressed that I couldn't even get out of bed. while in school, in college, I'm gonna heckin' try. I wanna try. So, wish me luck. I hope that I am here for Halloweek 2026. And it might just be Hollow month. I don't know. We'll still call it Halloweek. But I don't know. Because sometimes unforeseen circumstances arise and we cannot predict those. As it is, I hope that you are safe. I hope that you had a happy Halloween. I hope that you are loved. And thank you so much for spending this time with me. I know that I got a little rambly and a little soapboxy at times. But that's what you get for being an English major. Woo! Anyway. I'm a little tired at this point. I drank a caffeinated beverage, like 15 minutes past 6. So that's the only reason I'm still awake. Okay? Otherwise, I'd have already passed out. Okay? I just would have. Because I know myself. I spent the day chasing after children, dressed as a cowboy. No lasso either. It's not like I could just... No. Instead, I had to chase after them and be like, gentle fingers. Nope. We're going to do this in a different way. Anyway. Like I said, I hope you're safe. I hope you had a happy Halloween. I hope you are loved. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope that you enjoyed Halloweek. Even if you didn't tune in for every story, I hope that you enjoyed one, maybe two. And if it just wasn't for you, that's fine too. I'll be back tomorrow, literally tomorrow, with Metal Gear, which is very different genre, but you know, if you want me to shut up about like the English major analysis, Metal Gear is not the one to be watching with me. Camera. So yeah, without further ado, I have nothing left for you. Bye-bye.